we continue on from Numbers chapter 13, from where we left off last week. I mentioned the name of the Caleb and what he, the name that where his name came from, and also who he is and why he was able to enter into the promised land with Joshua. And we're going to continue to learn about verse 16. These were the names of the man whom Moses sent to spy out the land, and Moses called Hoshea, the son of Nun, Joshua. So let's talk about Joshua. His name was Hoshea, the son of Nun, Joshua. So his original name is Hoshea, and he was called Joshua. What's the difference between Hoshea versus Joshua? So Hoshea and Joshua, it's almost the same meaning, but there's a slight difference between the two names. So Hoshea it means salvation or save or deliver, whereas Joshua consists of two different words. One is Jehovah and Yasha. Yasha means save or deliver. So Jehovah plus Yasha, those two names came together, that makes Joshua. So then if Jehovah plus Yasha, what does that mean then? If you put those two words together, what does that mean? It means Lord saves. So there's a save, which is Hoshea, and Joshua, the Lord saves. So there's two different words. So instead of just a save, who is going to save us? Lord is going to save us. So Joshua versus Hoshea. All right? So we have to understand, save us. But who's going to save us? Is it a people who's going to save us? Or the Lord is going to save us? Oh, wait a second. Is it Ricky online? Wow. I mean, I'm sure the internet is not so great in... Alright. Interesting. Okay. Hopefully he could hear us as well. So, his name was Hoshea, but he was called to be Joshua because the Lord saves us. I mean, people save us too. I mean, if we just fall into water, someone saves us, right? So it is saving, or we're saved is important, but who's a saving is more important than just being just saved. So Lord saves us. Verse 17, Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan and said to them, go up into the Negeb and go up into the hill country and see what the land is, and whether the people who dwell in it are strong or weak, whether they are few or many, and whether the land that they dwell in is good or bad, and whether the city that they dwell in are camps or strongholds, and whether the land is rich or poor, and whether there are a tree in it or not. Be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the season of the fruit ripe grapes. Okay. So when this particular verse at the end of the verse 20, now the time was the season of the first ripe grapes. When is this? When do they actually harvest the grapes or the fruits? Do you remember the month? We learn all this when we're learning about the feast. Right? There's 3 different harvests during those feasts, right? What was the first feast? Was the barley, was the first harvest. Second harvest is wheat, right? When is the first harvest done? The feast of first fruit, right? That's when they harvest the barley. And when is the second harvest? All right. The feast is the Pentecost, right? That's when they harvest the wheat. And a third harvest, Feast of Gathering, right? Those are the third feast, which is the time to harvest the fruits. So the last feast, which is the Feast of a Gathering, is on the 7th month, which is the month of Tishri month. Right? Tishri month. So it's on the 7th month they are here. So God ordered to send people over to Promised Land. My question is this. I want you to just kind of like think about it and answer it after you think. In my opinion, just my opinion, just God tell Moses, okay, advance in to the land that I give you. Why bother to spying out the land? What's the reason? Why is God ordering the people to go up there to spying out? What's the reason? What do you think is the reason? Or is it a too obvious question that is not worth the, is not worth to think about? Why did God commanded Moses to pick 12 people to go up there to check out this land that God is about to give? If did not go up to the land, if did not send the spies, might have been easier for them to just advance into the land and then maybe just, take over the land, because they don't know what it's like, right? But because there was a spies going into this Promised Land ahead of time, they created a problem for the Israelites. So if God did not ask them, God commanded Moses to send the spies, it would have been a lot easier and might have been just go into the promised land directly without wandering in the wilderness for 38 years. What do you think? Let's turn to book of Luke, chapter 14. Luke chapter 14. We're going to read from verse 25. We actually referenced this sections in the past. All right, everyone turned it? Chapter 14. Luke chapter 14. We're going to read from verse 25. Now great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciples. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to encounter another king in war, will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends the delegations as for terms of peace. So, therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciples." I want you to think about this. What does this mean? What is Jesus actually teaching? So what Jesus is saying is, on verse 28, "For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it?" So before you build anything, you will calculate to make sure you have enough money to build something. If you don't have enough money, you would not go out and build it, because you know that you won't be able to complete it. Because if you don't have enough money, you know you won't be able to complete. So you wouldn't even start building it, right? And same thing, when a king goes out to a war, right, he just kind of measures his own army versus your opponent's army and making sure to count them to see whether this war you're going to win or you're going to lose. If you only have 10,000 versus there is like 40,000, right? You would send someone out there as a delegation and say, "Hey, we come in peace. We don't want to fight with you," because you know that you're going to lose it. So you wouldn't even start the battle with them because you know you're going to lose it, right? So you already kind of calculate before you actually do anything, right? So even the people would do these calculations before you do anything. Then wouldn't you calculate before you actually follow me or become my disciples? You have to know what you're getting after this. So just do the math before you come to me. Just don't follow me, but do the math before you come and say to me that you want to be my disciple. or my follower? Do the math. Right? So if you want to become my disciples, you have to take up your own cross. And you have to deny yourself. You have to actually, deny your brothers and sisters before you follow me. Don't just come to me without even thinking and say, well, I'll become your followers. But if you don't do the math, you're going to give up. So make sure you do the math before you come and follow me. That's what Jesus is saying. So then, what God is doing to send all the spies, I'm going to give you a promised land, but do the math. I'm going to send you up there and know what I'm going to give you. Do the math before you go in. Make sure you know where you're walking into. And when 12 people went up there, obviously 10 of them came back and said, well, I did the math. And I figured that there's no way they will be able to actually go in. It does not make any sense. Right? There's no way they were going to be able to get in. I did the math. No way. Only 2 came back, which is Joshua and Caleb came back and said, well, I did the math. Practically, it doesn't make any sense. I agree with what you said. But you know what? I did the different calculations, and I did the different math, and based on human math, it does not make any sense. We going in, just like what you said. But based on God's math, it makes perfect sense. Let's go in. So, there's 2 ways to do the math in the biblical, format. You measure, you do the math based on your knowledge, right? Use your own judgment, right? Use your knowledge and your wisdoms and your rational. So you do all this, figure this out, whether it's going to make any sense or not. But the follower of Jesus, they don't do human math. We don't do the math based on what we see, what we know, right? Our calculations, our math is completely different than how we do the math in this world. God's math, for worldly people, it does not make any sense. But for the people who believe in the Lord and who trust the Lord, it makes perfect sense, which the worldly people don't see it. So there's 2 different math that we can do. In order for us to do anything, you have to have something to do something. You either have to be powerful to do something. But the way God does, as you get smaller, as you become weak, you can do more. Human math is you have to be powerful, you have to have everything to do everything. But there's a God math, and there's a human math. God wanted to teach them, I want you to do the math here. I'm going to give you an opportunity for you to go in there, figure this out, do the math. But if you do the math based on your knowledge and your understanding, you're not going to get anything. But if you do the math based on the God's math, you will see that I'm going to give it to you. Because you just haven't seen this, based on your math. Moses did perfect math. He actually did a so great job. When God said, I'm going to give you the meat, and Moses did the math. Lord, are you kidding me? I did the math. Even if he kill all this animal that we have, even if he gather all these fishes from these oceans, it's not going to be enough to feed his people. I did the math. It doesn't make any sense. There is no way that you'll be able to actually feed this. Even if you can provide the food. And God clearly showed them, you're wrong. Your math is wrong. Because I am the Lord, I am the Creator, I will prove it to you that your math is wrong. There's two different math, your math versus my math. Right? And then God wanted to show, because he showed it to Israelites before, how, he does the calculation. They should have learned the lesson, because they have seen this already. But once again, he sent the people to see, but they did exactly the same math that they did previously. What Moses did. Based on my math, it doesn't make any sense for us to go in. If we go in there, we're going to lose it. We're done. Caleb and Joshua, they did different math, the God's math. I know, Lord, I saw what I saw, just like any other people. It doesn't make any sense. We know we're going to lose it, but based on your math, I know I can get in. It makes perfect sense. So let's go. So God wanted to make sure they do the math before they go in. Make sure what I'm going to give you, I want you to know what I'm giving it to you and how I'm going to give it to you. For you, it doesn't make any sense. But for me, it makes perfect sense because I'm going to make it happen. I prove it to you many times. And I want you to trust me. I want you to believe in me that I will do this. But we know the results. So, verse 21. So they went up and spied out the land from the wilderness of Zin to Rehob near the Lebo Hamath. They went up into the Negev and came to Hebron, Ahiman, Shishai, the Talmai, and descendants of Anak were there. Hebron was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt. And they came to the valley of Eshcol and cut down from a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and they carried it on a pole between two of them. They also brought some pomegranates and figs. That place was called the valley of Eshcol because of the cluster that the people of Israel cut down from there. At the end of 40 days, they returned from spying out the land, and they came to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregations of the people of Israel in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and to all the congregations and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told them, we came to the land to which you sent us. It flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. However, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And besides, we saw the descendants of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of Negev. The Hittites and Jebusites and Amorites dwell in the hill country, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan. But Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. Then the man who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are the great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the son of Anak, who come from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like a grasshopper, and so we seemed to them. So, analysis that they brought back after 40 days of spying the land was actually accurate. What they saw was actually this. They analyzed it properly. They presented it to Israelites, the congregation. Absolutely what they said was correct. But what they saw was their own ability. With our own ability, there's no way we'd be able to actually get in. But what they didn't see is the God's ability. That's the piece that they missed it. They only measured against their strength, their power, their ability to take over this land. Of course, with your own ability, no way you'll be able to get in. And Joshua and Caleb both know. With their own ability, there's no way they'll be able to actually take this land. But it is not my ability, but it is God's ability that I can do this. It is not me. So, what is Paul's the theory? As we get weaker, we become stronger. That's the logic that God has. Based on our logic, our human logic, we have to be strong, not to be weak, to be strong. You have to be high to be treated high. You can't be lower, but you have to lower yourself to be lifted up high. That's God's math. That's how it works in God's way, not human way. But human way is always rational, logical, right? It has to be, make sense for us to do anything. We have to do the math, but we always do the math based on our own capability, our own ability to do so. What Bible is teaching us is don't trust yourself because you are nothing. You are dust of this earth. You cannot do anything. You have no ability. You have no capability. Listen, this is not how human teaches others. Our world is teaching us, believe in yourself. Believe that you can do this. So what is the, catchphrase of Nike? Just do it. Because if you do it, you'll make it happen. Just aim high. Just work towards it. Set your, aim high. Just work towards it. You will get it. Trust yourself. Believe in it. You will do it. Right? That's what world is teaching us. That's what we've been trained us to think and act. But God is teaching us completely opposite. He's saying, give it up. Just to give up yourself. You can't do anything. I mean, think about it. Just like discouragement. You don't teach people and say, no, you cannot do anything. You're nothing. That's not how we teach people, right? We have to encourage people, even though they have no ability. You just have to continue to encourage them so that you trust yourself, you have more self-esteem, and you trust in yourself that you can do this, right? You push them to do better job, and you just help them to do better job. That's what we've been trained to do so. But God's way is a completely opposite. He's teaching us, you're nobody, right? You're nothing, you're dust. Just give it up. Don't try to do anything. You're worthless. You're like a rag. But you know what? Because of who you are, I will help you. I will make it happen for you. Just don't trust yourself, but trust me. Trust in me. I will make it happen. Because you have no ability, I have ability. I'm powerful. I can do anything. I'll be with you. I'll protect you. I'll make it happen for you. Which is a completely opposite from what we've been trained to think. For us, it's extremely difficult to think this way because this is not how we are trained to think. So giving it up is so hard. So a lot of times, what we trust is we trust ourselves, trust our ability, trust our circumstances, right? Trust the people around us. We trust our family. We trust our friends. right? But you know what? Bible will teach you. The more you know the Bible, more you know the Lord, He will remind you again and again and again. Since you can't do anything, trust in me, I'll make it happen for you. And only 2 people believe in it. So I tell you, what does the number 2 means in the Bible? The number of witness, which is church. Church is the only people who believe in the Lord, and that we trust that we can do things because the God is powerful, because He's awesome, and He can do anything and everything. That's what Bible is teaching us. Caleb said this. Huh? So, God is actually teaching us to do the math, but not our math, but God's math. Making sure, know what God is about to give. All right? Chapter 14. Then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night, and all the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would that we had died in this wilderness? Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become a prey. Would it not be better for us to go back to Egypt? And they said to one another, Let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt. So once again, I want you to think about it. What would... Hold on 1 second. Why does it go in and out? Hang on 1 second. Let me just disconnect it from here. As I mentioned, God showed the people what God is capable of doing. In previous chapter, He brought quails. I told you how many quail was actually, brought in to feed His people, right? They have watched it, they experienced it, right? But they forgot what God did. They did not trust Him. As I mentioned, experiencing the miracle builds up the faith. Does your experience of miracle give you faith? Maybe. But based on what we have seen in the Bible, barely. It is not what you see, what you experience give you the faith, but what you hear the God's word and trusting in the Lord will give you the faith, will build up the faith. This is what we're learning. This is a very basic principle in this world. Go by the voice of numerous people. Mass, right, of a people must be right. Rather than listening to what is right, we listen to more people saying things. Since 10 people giving the same report that we will not be able to go in, they trusted those 10 people because the number was larger than Caleb and Joshua. There was only 2. So ratio-wise, right, 10 versus 2, 10 must be right. That is the democracy. Right? You go by the more people saying things. But God's way is a completely different. It doesn't matter the number of people. It does not matter. So this is something you have to learn. Even in church. Church is not built upon democracy. It is not how many people saying what to do. It's what God said is more important than how many people said. Even if thousands of hundreds of millions of people saying the same thing, it doesn't really matter. What God said is important than what millions of people said. That's why God is teaching us. It is not the number, but it is who made that promise. So, they were making this claim to God. You know what? It's better for us to die in Egypt. Let's just pick the leader. Let's go back. And once again, I want you to just to think about what God feel when they hear this cry. I just showed you what my capability is, who God is. I've been showing you miracles over another miracles, the things that no one ever seen. I have shown you all this and prove it to you who I am. I am the Creator. I am the Lord. I'm not the same as any other God that you knew ever before. Trust me. Didn't I prove it to you that I am the Lord? And you are experiencing it every day. But you still don't trust me. Verse 4, Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the people of Israel. And Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had spied out the land, tore their clothes, and said to all the congregation of the people of Israel, The land which we passed through to spy it out is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land that flows with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their protection is removed from them, and the Lord is with us. Do not fear them. Then all the congregation set to stone them with stones. But the glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting to all the people of Israel. So, once again, they did the math based on what they saw, based on their knowledge, right? And we see this over and over in the Bible. Let's take a look at this. We actually looked at this before, but let's go to Judges. So let's take a look at Judges chapter 7. Actually, let's take a look at chapter 6 first. Oops. Judges chapter 6 first. The people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the land of Midian 7 years, and hand of Midian overpowered Israel. And because of Midian, the people of Israel made for themselves the den that are in the mountains, and the caves, and a stronghold. For whenever the Israelites planted crop, the Midianites and Amalekites and the people of east would come up against them, and they would encamp against them and devour the produce of the land as far as Gaza, to leave no substance in Israel, and no sheep or ox or donkey. For they would come up with their livestock and their tent. They would come like locusts in numbers. Both they and their camels could not be counted, so that they laid waste the land as they came in. So Amalekites and Midianites, there's so many. Every time when they come, they're like outnumber the Israelites. They're strong, they're powerful. When they came in, they just swept through the land. They took everything what they actually harvested. Right? So they cried out to the Lord. They said, Lord, please help us. So God actually listened. So he picked Gideon to actually, defeat them. When Gideon gathered the Israelites, let's take a look at, see what he did. Chapter 7. Then Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose early and encamped beside the spring of Harod, and the camp of Midian was north of them by the hill of Morat in the valley. The Lord said to Gideon, the people you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel boast over me, saying, my own hand has saved me. Now therefore proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, whoever is fearful and trembling, let him return home and hurry away from Mount Gilead. Then 22,000 of the people returned, and 10,000 remained. So what God is saying, I want you to gather the Israelites. We're going to go to a war against the Amalekite and Midianites. When they gather, there are about 22,000, 32,000 gather. And God said, wait, that's too many. You may think, with your own power, with your own ability, you defeated the Midianites. That's not what I'm trying to teach you. So, what I'm going to do is, I want you to trim down all those people. If anyone is fearful and tremble, then let them go back home. And those are the people who gathered there and who went back home was 22,000. There are 10,000 left. We don't know how many Midianites there, but don't care. 10,000 left. And God said, whoa. That's too much. So he said, verse 4, and the Lord said to Gideon, the people are still too many. Take them down to the water, and I will test them for you there. And anyone of whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, and anyone of whom I say to you, this one shall not go with you, shall not go. So God trimmed down the people and tested by actually bring them to the water side and have them drink the water. And based on how they drink, I will trim down the people who I send, I want you to go with, and people who I'm going to send it back home, let them go back home. So God trimmed down up to 300. Okay? 300. Now, so what kind of people he trimmed out? Who are these 300 people? Yeah? You have to think about it. Who did God pick? Who are these 300 people? Who? When you look, he said, when there were 30,000 people gathered, God said it's too many. Even with the 10,000, God said too many. Because he trimmed these people down for what reason? Correct. So what God did was, we always learned Gideon and 300 warrior, right? That's what we learn all the time. God did not pick 300 warrior. Do you know what kind of people he picked? People like dog. People who doesn't want to fight. They're fearful. Those are the people God picked. Why? Why? Because God did not want them to think it is them. Do you understand what I'm saying? God did not want them to think it is their ability, it is their power to overpower the Midianites. The people like dog, people are fearful who doesn't want to go to a war. He picked most weakest person out of the group. I want you to take these 300 as useless people. I want you to go with them. So they cannot boast. It is I was powerful and strong. We actually defeated all those enemy. No. It's almost impossible with these people that we cannot go into the war. Do you understand? So no one can boast about this. So God intentionally picked the 300 useless people and sent it to it. And then see how many people are there. Take a look at verse 12. How many people are there? And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the people of the east lay along the valley like locusts in abundance, and their camels were without numbers, as the sand that is on the seashore in abundance. So how many people? How many people? Countless. They cannot count how many people are there. It's like so many. It's almost impossible to count them. So based on what they can see just in front of their all these eyes, all these people, numerous that they can't even count, versus 300. Does it make sense? When you do the math. When you do the math, does that make sense? It makes zero sense. It makes no sense. There's no way that you're going to win this battle. You know for sure that you're going to lose this battle. So don't even bother. Right? But then, what did God do? We're going to read from verse 22 and on. When they blew the 300 trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his comrade and against all the army. And the army fled as far as Beth Shittah, towards Zerah, and as far as the border of Abel-Meholah by Tabeth. And the men of Israel were called out from Naphtali and from Asher and from Manasseh, and they pursued after Midian. Gideon sent messenger throughout all the hill country of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites and capture the water against them, as far as the Beth Barah and also the Jordan." So all the men of Ephraim were called out, and they captured the water as far as the Beth Barah and also the Jordan. and they captured 2 princes of Midian's, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb and the rock of Oreb and Zeb. They killed at the winepress of Zeb. Then they pursued Midian, and they brought the head of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon across the Jordan. So, no one can say, we are the one who powerful to defeat these Midianites and Amalekites. God wanted to prove it is I who overpowered you to actually win this battle. You can't do this math because it doesn't make any sense for you in worldly sense, but I, the one who's going to actually use 300 useless people, worthless people, to actually defeat as many as this, like sand in the seashore, to defeat them. So God showed it is me who did this. It's not you at all, because you are incapable of doing this at all. Right? And we see the same exact scenes in here. I want you to go to 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 14. One day, Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who carried his armor, "Come, let us go over the Philistine garrison on the other side." But he did not tell his father. Saul was staying in an outskirts and Gibeah by the pomegranate cave at the Migron. The people who were with them were about 600 men, including Ahijah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, son of Phinehas, son of Eli, the priest of the Lord in Shiloh, wearing an ephod, and the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. Within the passes by which Jonathan sought to go over to the Philistine garrison, there was a rocky crag on the one side and a rocky crag on the other side. The name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other Seneh. The one crag rose on the north in front of the Michmash. Is it still like that? Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor, "Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord from saving by many or by few." And his armor-bearer said to him, "Do all that is in your heart. Do as you wish. Behold, I am with you, heart and souls." Then Jonathan said, "Behold, we will cross over to the man, and we will show ourselves to them. If they say to us, 'Wait until we come to you,' then we will stand still in our place, and we will not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come up to us,' then we will go up, for the Lord has given them into our hand, and this shall be sign to us." So both of them showed themselves to the garrison of the Philistine, and the Philistine said, "Look, Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden themselves." And the man of garrison hailed Jonathan as his armor-bearer and said, "Come up to us, and we will show you a thing." And Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, "Come up and after me, for the Lord has given them into the hand of Israel." Then Jonathan climbed up on his hand and feet, and his armor-bearer after him. And they fell before Jonathan, and his armor-bearer killed them after him. And the first strike which Jonathan and his armor-bearer made killed about 20 men within, as it were, half a furrow's length in an acre of land. And there was a panic in the camp and the field, and among all the people, the garrison, and even the raider trembled and earthquaked, and it became a very great panic. So I want you to think about this. There's only two. One is Jonathan, and his armor bearer. Okay? You know, at this time, they're actually going against the war to Philistine. The Israel versus Philistine. They're having a war. Okay? And with all these people, initially, when you actually look at the previous chapter 13, I want you to take a look at this. Chapter 13, we're going to read verse 1 and 2. Saul lived for 1 year and then became king, and when he had reigned for 2 years over Israel, Saul chose 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul and in Michmash and the hill country of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the people he sent home, every man to his tent. So how many people are there? Total. 5,000. Where did you get this calculation? Exactly, 3,000. 2,000 with Saul and 1,000 with Jonathan. So 3,000 in total, right? Just when I read, please pay attention. 3,000 were gathered, okay? And then how many? The Philistines are there. Verse 5. And the Philistine mustered to fight with Israel 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen and troops like the sand on the seashore in multitude. They came up and encamped in Michmash to the east of Beth Aven. So how many people are gathered? 30,000. Where do you get this number from? It says there are 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen and troops like the sand on the seashore in multitude. You cannot number these people. There's so many. 36,000 was like with the chariots, right? And with on horses. They're at 36,000 plus unnumbered troops. You can't count them. Right? How many Israelites there? 3,000. And let's check out how many people are here. Verse 15. And Samuel arose and went up from Gilgal. The rest of the people went up after Saul and meet the army. They went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people who were present with them, about 600 men. How many? 600. How many people were with Saul before? Okay. What happened? What happened from 2,000 or another 1,000 with Jonathan? What happened to those people? What happened to all these people and only 600 left? So, chapter 13, verse 6, there's a reason. Verse 6, when the men of Israel saw that they were in trouble, for the people were hard pressed, the people hid themselves in caves and in holes and rocks and in tombs and in cisterns. And some Hebrew crossed the fords of the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul was still at Gilgal, and all the people followed him, trembling. What happened? They were all scared because they just looked at the number of Israelites, and they looked at the number of the Philistines, and there's no way they were going to win this battle. Right? 3,000 versus unnumbered troops. You know what will happen. It's very simple. You don't have to be good at math. You just know it. Right? So they just hid everywhere. They just like try to just flee away from these people. Only people who were with Saul was 600. Jonathan was at the lead. He saw the same people. But you know what? All these people who were gathered, do you know how many people had, the weapons? I'll show you how many people are there. Chapter 13, verse 22. So, on the day of the battle, there was neither sword or spear found in the hand of any of the people with Saul and Jonathan. But Saul and Jonathan, his son, had them. So how many people had the weapons? How many people have weapons? 2. Literally, only 2 people had the weapon. Not to mention about the people who gather there. Okay? Who are these people? Farmers. Okay? They don't even have weapons to fight. Not to mention about number of a people. They don't even have weapons to fight against this Philistine. Forget this number. They don't even have weapons. Then you do the math. Does it make sense for you? It makes no sense. You know you're going to lose the battle. Period. No way. But what Jonathan did is this. Chapter 14, verse 6. Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor. The armor carrier is the one who carries Jonathan's sword. Jonathan wasn't even carrying a sword. Armor bearer that followed Jonathan is the only one who had the sword in his back. Okay? Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord from saving by many or by few. He's saying, I don't care how many people are there. It is not by number who actually overpower us. If God is with us, that's it. That's all I need. I don't care how many people are over there. I'm going. If they ask us to come, we'll go. Because we know that God is actually, put them on our hands. We know it. I don't care how many people are there. I'm going to go up there. When they tell us to come up, I will go. Let's just show ourselves. So they tempt them to see what they have to say. So they actually showed themselves. Only 2 people, Jonathan and an armor bearer, was just 2. There's no troops there. There are only 2 people. He showed himself and see what they have to say. When Jonathan and an armor bearer showed himself, and the Philistines said, there's look at those Israelites. Those 2 guys that came out of the cave somewhere. Like, let's see. Come up here. I'll show you something. And Jonathan said, God gave them in our hands. Let's go up. And armor bearer had a faith and said, do as you wish. I will follow you. I mean, this is a suicidal act. You know you're going to die. Right? But even though it's a suicidal act, I don't care. God is with us. We'll go and defeat them. And Jonathan and the armor bearer went up with their bare hands and foot. They climbed up, and what they did was they just killed 20 people right there. And then after that, it was trembled. There was earthquake. Everyone, the Philistines, were just trembled because what God did to them. 2. Once again, how many people? 2. I just kept saying 2. Right? The number of witness, the church. It is not the number. Of course, we will. I mean, imagine. Have you actually seen the movie 300? It actually showed a pretty good, representation of that numerous as like seashore. It actually showed the perfect examples in that movie, right? When the whatchamacallit, the armies, the Persians, came, like you saw, like it's like it's like ants, right? That showed perfect example. That's exactly what they saw. Imagine, you'll be outnumbered. But what we saw, right? What we saw, even in movie 300, Spartans are like the best warrior you could ever have. They're strong, like fearless people. I don't care how many people come. I'll fight after you. Because they're strong, they had no fear, right? It's not about the number, but we're strong. We will fight. But imagine, there are like 300 golem, right? Not the Spartans, but there is a golem in the movie, right? Imagine 300 golems are there. Do you think they will go against this like Persians? No, you won't, because this doesn't make any sense, right? God does not count by the number. You cannot do the math based on what we know, based on our understanding. God's math is completely different than how we actually do the math. It's not the number. God is saying, the less you are, the more you will see of me. I am the one who works through you to make this happen. But only people who trust in the Lord will see. If you don't trust in the Lord, you will never see this. It is hard. It requires a lot of faith. I mean, how do you do it? It's very simple. Is the word is in you or not? Do you really have the word is in you or not? Because here's what I said before. You trust in the Lord based on the promise that God made. Right? So, do you know the promise God made in the Bible? What promise He made? If you don't know the promise, you will never be able to do it. But I told you before, it's not the faith that it comes easily. But here's the faith that you have. Lord, I am nothing. I can't do anything. But you shown this fact over and over in the Bible. That you are my stronghold. You're my rock. That you promise you will never let me go. You will always hold on to me. I hold on to the promise that you gave it to me. You're in me, make me strong. Not because I'm strong, because you are strong. I am in you, you are in me, I am strong. Let me stand here, Lord. I cannot do it myself. I know there's no way that I can win this battle. But because you're in me, make me to see that your work in me. This is why I come to you and I pray to you. Lord, make me strong. It is not the physical power. Jesus did not physically, overpower them. That's not how Jesus won this battle. Jesus won the battle on the cross. From the worldly point of view, he was a loser. He was a complete loser. That's why the Pharisee said, why don't you come down from the cross? Then I'll believe you. You can't even save yourself? Come down. Then I will believe you. Jesus never came down. Math, God does, is completely different than how we do the math. God wanted to show over and over and over, it is not you who do the work. I am the one who do the work. Come back to Numbers chapter 14. So Caleb and Joshua was the only one who claimed to the people and said, yes, you're absolutely correct, but we can do this because God is with us. Verse 11. And the Lord said to Moses, How long will this people despise me? And how long will they not believe in me, in spite of all the signs I have done among them? I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make of you a nation greater and mightier than they. God was so pissed. I've shown you all the signs and miracle that you could never ever see in your entire life. I've shown you over and over and over. How long will you despise me? How long you will deny me? How long will you distrust me? So, because you don't trust me, I will let you die as you believed. As you said, you will die in here. Only people who will trust in me, I will save. And then, verse 13, but Moses said to the Lord, before, when I actually saw this, when God said, verse 12, I will strike them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make you a nation greater and mightier than they. If I were Moses, I would probably say, you're right, Lord. Just get rid of them. Just use me to just build a whole nation. Why don't we just start right here? Let's start here with me. Okay, I trust you, Lord. Let's just get rid of them. You don't need them. Yeah, that's right, Lord. It's me. I'm right here. Use me. Right? Let's just start right here with me. I probably said that to the Lord. But that's not what Moses said. That's not what Moses said. Listen to what Moses is saying carefully. But Moses said to the Lord, then the Egyptians will hear of it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them, and they will tell the inhabitants of this land, they have heard that you, O Lord, are in the midst of the people. For you, O Lord, are seen face to face, and your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you kill this people as one man, then the nation who have heard your fame will say, it is because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land that he swore to give to them, that he has killed them in the wilderness. And now, please, let the power of the Lord be great as you have promised, saying, the Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, forgiving iniquity and transgressions, but he will by no means clear the guilt, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and the fourth generation. Please pardon the iniquity of this people, according to the greatness of your steadfast love, just as you have forgiven this people from Egypt until now. When you listen to this one, when you listen to this, he's plead and he's interceding for the Israelites, what reminds of you? Exactly. This is the intercession's prayer that Jesus had done. They don't know what they're doing, Lord. Forgive them. Show your mighty power and your unforgiving, grace and love, show it to them. This Moses exactly shows what Jesus did. This is just a metaphor of the Jesus interceding for the people. And then, when Moses, intercedes for the Israelites, let's see what God answers. Verse 20, then the Lord said, I have pardoned according to your word. He changed his mind because what Moses said. But truly, as I live, and as all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, none of the men who have seen my glory and my signs, and I did in Egypt, in the wilderness, and yet have put me to the test these 10 times and have not obeyed my voice, shall see the land that I swore to give to the father, and none of those who despise me shall see it. But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit, and he has followed me fully, I will bring into the land into which he went, and his descendants shall possess it. Now, since the Amalekites and the Canaanites dwell in the valley, turn tomorrow and set out for the wilderness by the way to the sea of the Red Sea. When Moses intercedes for the Israelites, he turns his anger away from his people. Instead of killing them, he spared them, but God still punishes them because God is a righteous God. He still punishes them, so they all die as they claim. They said, I'd rather die in Egypt, you will die here. But for those people who trust in me, I will bring them into the promised land. But you see something funny here? What's funny here? Some strange. Yeah, that's correct. But something more. Listen to this. Where's Joshua? Why only Caleb? Where did Joshua go? It was 2, right? It was not just Caleb, but Joshua and the Caleb. But what is he saying here? He only said, but my servant Caleb. Shouldn't he say, my servant Caleb and Joshua? Because there are 2 people, but why only Caleb? Did he forget about Joshua? No. He only said Caleb for a reason. What reason? What does Caleb represent? Okay, can you hear me? Okay. Why did God only mention Caleb's name? Because the Caleb represent the church. Caleb, as I mentioned, his name is what? Dog. Dog, right? Which is Gentiles. Jesus is going in. You don't have to talk about Jesus. He goes in. Who really goes in is the Caleb. My servant Caleb will go in. He didn't forget about Joshua. He's not even talking about Joshua because you don't have to worry about Joshua. It is a Caleb who I will make sure I bring them in. So only mention Caleb because he has different spirit. What is that? people who the Holy Spirit will get in. You have a different spirit than others. Dog, yeah. Joshua is a Jesus, right? Yeah, you actually left before we finish all this because, yeah, you missed the whole part. There is a still recording there if you want to listen, the last piece of it that you missed. Okay. Continue on. Verse 26. And the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, How long shall this wicked congregation grumble against me? I have heard the grumbling of the people of Israel, which they grumble against me. Say to them, As I live, declare the Lord, what you have said in my hearing, I will do to you. So as you said, it will be done. As you trust it, it will be done. Your dead bodies shall fall in this wilderness, and all your number listed in the census from 20 years old and upward, who have grumbled against me, not one shall come into the land where I swore that I would make you dwell, except Caleb, the son of Zephaniah, and Joshua, the son of Nun. But your little ones, who you said would become a prey, I will bring in, and they shall know the land that you have rejected. But as for you, your dead bodies shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall be shepherds in the wilderness 40 years, and shall suffer for your faithlessness, until the last of your dead body lies in the wilderness, according to the number of the days in which you spies about the land 40 days, spied for 40 days, a year for each day. You shall bear your iniquity 40 years, and you shall know my displeasure. I, the Lord, have spoken. Surely this will I do to all this wicked congregations who are gathered together against me. In this wilderness they shall come to a full end, and there they shall die. And the man whom Moses sent to spy out the land, who returned and made all the congregation grumble against him by bringing up a bad report about the land, the man who brought up a bad report of the land died by plague before the Lord. Of those men who went to spy out the land, only Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb son of Zephaniah remained alive. When Moses told these words to all the people of Israel, the people moaned greatly, and they rose early in the morning and went up to the heights of the hill country, saying, Here we are, we will go up to the place the Lord has promised, for we have sinned. But Moses said, Why? Now you are transgressing the command of the Lord when the will not succeed. Do not go up, for the Lord is not among you, lest you be struck down before your enemies. For these, the Amalekites and Canaanites, are facing you, and you shall fall by the sword, because you have turned back from the following the Lord will not be with you. But they presumed to go up to the heights of the hill country, although neither the ark of the covenant of the Lord nor Moses depart out of the camp. Then the Amalekite and the Canaanites who lived in that hill country came down and defeated them and pursued them even to Hormah. When God said, Go up, they didn't go up and grumble. And God said, Don't go up there, just go back to the wilderness, and then they go up. It's too late. It's too late. You have to understand this. It is not the number. It is not what you see. It is not worldly calculations that you do. It makes sense. When God works, it makes absolutely zero sense. No sense. No rationale. It doesn't make any sense at all. but God will make it happen. That's how God shows He is the Lord. If you're powerful, if you can do it by yourself, then what do you need the God for? You just do it. But because you cannot do it, God will help you. Whoever comes to the Lord, trust in the Lord, is the one who will see the God's work. If you don't come to the Lord, you will never see His work. So, God is teaching us again and again and again. We have to die in order for God to make us live. It is God who does the work. Okay. We must die to make us live. That's the teaching God gives us over and over and over. So, once again, we see Jesus and the church again, every chapter. Who He is, what He is teaching us. The more you learn, the more you see Jesus and the church, what He does, how He saves us. Whoever believes in Him will be delivered to the promised land. Whoever does not will die because of their own transgressions and their own iniquities. And as I mentioned, God is God, but God cannot change people's mind. Even if you pray, God cannot change you. It is you who have to turn. It doesn't matter how much we pray for that person, God cannot change them. You're seeing this over and over again. Even God cannot change the Israelites' heart. It's their heart. He wants to. That's why He just kept saying over and over again. But they don't change. They don't come to the Lord. They don't trust in the Lord. God cannot do anything for those people. It is not the God who changes people's heart. I want you to know this. So, any questions about chapter 14 that we... No, actually not 14, 13. Yeah.